I just love the idea that these women were trying to sort of grapple with their grief as well as try and to achieve this heist. I mean, that sort of journey, that journey of grief, which is sort of, again, it never ends. But how they have to sort of deal with, their own sort of pain at the same time as sort of, I would say, getting together with these 4 strangers who they never knew. So there's so much going on, and that was interesting for me.
Tu non ne hai idea, eh? O hai scelto di non saperlo? Tuo marito mi ha rubato $2 milioni. C'è di mezzo la mia vita!
I mean, again, I think a lot of the real work happened at sort of dinners and at rehearsals where we just forget the script and just talked about, us, personal stuff and who the characters were. And again, we always reflected, come back to ourselves. So it was interesting how there's women, Viola, Michelle, Elizabeth, and Cynthia were just grappling with, who they were as well as the character, because I think the best truth is always your own.
I nostri mariti non torneranno. Siamo sole.
Taking it from early 80s London to Chicago, I wanted to steep our narrative into sort of the reality of our everyday, and I wanted to do it in Chicago because it was the most, for me, the most heightened Western city with all of these aspects of race, crime, religion, political sort of intrigue, etc., etc., etc. So again, it's looking at Chicago in a microscope, but turning it around and making a telescope because it reflects the world we all live in one aspect or the other.
È successa una cosa orribile stanotte. Signor Mulligan, Harry è stato legato alla sua famiglia per molti anni. Ho bisogno d'aiuto.
Non vedo che posso fare.
Vulnerable in this role, and I think that's what gives her that character credibility. I mean, people talk about strong this, strong that, strong women. I think it's a nonsense, as if women aren't strong. Of course they are, but the fact of the matter, what gives Viola depth and gravitas is her vulnerability, that she fronts, but behind closed doors she's crumbling.
Mio marito mi ha lasciato i piani per il prossimo colpo. Mi serve una squadra per realizzarlo.
Perché dovremmo fidarci?
Perché io sono l'unica alternativa a un proiettile in testa.
You are not powerless. I think often we feel sort of paralyzed because of the environment we live in, politically, socially, economically, and so forth. And I do believe that somehow, even the smallest acts, that we can actually do something. Again, I would say this quote again, it's just one of those things where you keep on thinking, if it rains, at least you could choose the color of your raincoat, and that's something. And you can't rely on anyone. You can't rely on governments, you can't rely on politicians, you can't rely on anyone. You have to sort of try and sort of pick yourself up, as well as, look at your neighbor, because often the people that we feel are enemy or are different to us are very similar. And if you come together as a group, you sort of put aside your differences, which there are none, come together and you make a group, you can actually achieve something, hopefully power, and to change things.
L'ho imparato dal tuo defunto marito e da mio padre. Raccogli quello che hai seminato.
Lo spero tanto.
I don't mean that stupidly, because I used to go to a lot of repertory cinemas. Me and my girlfriend at the time used to go to all of these different films. We used to go to films, Korea, Japan, Poland, French, Canadian. I mean, so many filmmakers. What was inspiring me was the world. How similar we were, how people fell in love in Tokyo, how people fell in love in, Bordeaux, or how people fell in love in sort of Miami. It was kind of similar, it was kind of great.